Am I here?
I think so. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 14. I have not been keeping track, so thank you, Knight. Episode 14 of Behind the Screen, a DM talk show where we come together and talk about the game that we all love and sometimes hate. It's all so much. But today, joining me, Nerdy Teacher, as your host, we have Dark Crescent Studio, Homebrew Hippo. Hippo?
I know I'm not big, but I thought I've lost weight.
Well, damn.
Homebrew
Wow.
Hippo. Hi.
Wow. My ego.
No, I was thinking of the song. All I want for Christmas is a hippopotamus, right? I want a hippopotamus for Christmas, right? Damn, my
Yeah,
brain.
definitely. I'm sure that's what's going on.
Yeah, sure. That's the excuse we're using.
I will be quite honest. My brain was saying that while looking at the next person, going, "Right, what's their name? What's their name?" And I don't know what happened. I apologize. That's. Can we restart? No. Okay, keep going. Then we got-
Himbo.
We'll fix it in post. Oh, wait.
Then we've got Daisy Chainsaw. Am I right? How to?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Ha. Now I'm questioning everything. We have my husband Zack, aka Kavash Feresh, and
If she got that wrong, I was going to have a lot of questions.
yes, question mark. We have Ooby Dooby, who has been having some technical difficulties for the past half an hour. So we are hoping that he is here with us. We have his image on screen. We shall see if he is present. And when he is, we shall all celebrate. Okay, there was much rejoicing, aka
Attempting
Monty
to be
Python's Style.
present.
Ooby, are you there?
Nah.
Okay. Well, I thought I
I'm
heard him.
trying to
Never mind.
be.
We shall see. If he is not able to join us today because of technical difficulties, obviously I do want to get him back another day because I've been very excited since meeting him at Northforge to have him back on. But everybody else here we have seen before, but this is our first stream on the Versal Plane, so perhaps this would be a good time to remind everybody who we are, where they can find us, and what is your DMing experience, like a little bullet point about you as a DM. Dark Crescent Studios, I called you first. Would you mind telling the people who you are?
I am Jay. Most people know me as Dark Crescent Studio. I'm usually the Crazy Dragon Lady or the Crazy Dice Lady, depending on who you talk to. You can find me at Linktree/Dark Crescent Studio. I'm on a lot of stuff, but I am not on TikTok. Yes, thank you, Knight, or just crazy. Love you too. I've been DMing since I was about 15, off and on. So, several different games. We've played Mytheria, we've done D&D, we've done... I've been a player, in a lot of stuff. But, bit of this and that.
Thank you, Jay, very much. And I will add for her sake that she is a little under the weather, so she's a little less animated than normal. We forgive her. But I'm just happy she's here. She's good enough to be here. Homebrew Himbo. Would you tell the people who you are?
Hi, I'm Rusty. Most people know me as Homebrew Himbo or just Himbo or apparently Hippo. You can find me on most social media in general as Homebrew Himbo, mostly on TikTok and potentially even here in the near future for other projects. But otherwise, I've been a player since I was about 10. My dad raised me on Dungeons and Dragons. He's been playing since the original brown booklet. And I've been DMing since I was 16, so I've been a DM for about 11 years now.
Very good. All right. Daisy, would you tell the people about yourself?
I'm Daisy, or Daisy Chainsaw, across like all of the social media platforms. You can find me Daisy Chainsaw 999. I'm really only active on Instagram because I'm a huge horror fan. So if you like scary movies, that is the place to go. But I've been DMing for the last few years, and my players lovingly call me the Demon DM because I am a chaotic DM and I am constantly pulling something.
Sounds like the best kind of DM, in my opinion. However,
I think so
their own.
too, but I tend to pull at their heartstrings a few too many times, so it's fine.
Yeah, you can only traumatize them so much before they start to resent you. There's a fine line.
Horror fan. They should know better by now.
That is fair. Zack, would you like to tell the people about yourself?
In nerdy teacher's house, eating her food. I don't have much of a social media presence, so.
Hey, get off of that.
Oh, the cat.
Sorry.
I assume it's the
No,
cat or
that's
Reptar.
Yeah, it was a cat. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, is that what you named the? Is that what you named the lizard? You named it Reptar. That's
It came
fantastic.
pre-named. It was from original. His original house was Rex. When he got rehomed, he was renamed to Reptar. And then I adopted him afterwards.
Zack, how long have you been a DM?
A couple years on and off, and I've been playing since 2006.
Damn, you've been playing longer
so
than you knew
almost
me.
20 years.
Shit, I didn't know that. Not married to him. Damn. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course we do have our Ubi, but I don't know if he's here. Ubi? All right, well, we shall consult the Ouija board to see if we can get in contact with Ubi. Oh, poor guy. All right. Internet issues are always a thing. Technical difficulty, difficult technicalities. Anyway, we shall have him introduce himself if and when he can get here. But there he is, that beautiful bearded dragon. Hello. And my name is Nerdy Teacher. I am the host just because I had this weird idea that this would be fun, and now it's become a thing. So I have been a player of D&D since 2016, DM since 2017, so I still consider myself a baby, but I think since I was able to run a 2.5-year campaign to level 20 and it was able to successfully end, I have some experience that some DMs never get. So I will stick by that record. But today, y'all, we have our poll up so that you can ask questions if you have any questions for the DMs. I also have some pre-made questions, and occasionally we just go down a rabbit hole and never come out. So last time it got a little risque, so we'll see where we go this time. And I believe it was mostly this group that we had, plus or minus a person.
Nothing was
Knight, what did you
shown.
say?
It was fine.
All right. So, my first question for y'all, because we are coming around the holidays, if we do another episode of this before Christmas, it would be on the 20th. But just in case, I have a question. Have you ever stopped a campaign or brought in some friends for a one-shot that was holiday themed? What was the premise and how did it go? Our Crescent is grinning.
So my players look forward to my holiday specials because my DM style is very much so the DM is on your side, the monsters are not. When my holiday specials come around, it then becomes DM versus PC. So wherever they are at in the campaign, for example, the last Christmas special that we did, they'd been walking through parts of the Feywild when all of a sudden snow started swirling around their feet, and upon the next step that they took, they were suddenly transported to this winter wonderland, deep forest, where they were attacked by rabid, Christmas elves, who were very upset that there were intruders because they were having a problem. Eventually, Mrs. Claus came to tell them, hey, there's a problem. You're adventurers. Maybe you can help. Every so often we have this issue with Santa where he becomes corrupted, and basically Santa got turned into Krampus. The entire like village of the North Pole had basically either been abandoned or turned in this process. They got attacked within Santa's home and the workshop. There was also a tree rex that came after them, and they ended up having to fight Saint Nick as Krampus, that I have some very terrifying stat blocks for. And at the end of my holiday specials, sometimes you get extra loot. If you end up dying, everybody wakes back up with all of their health and their hit points and none of their stuff spent. So I don't punish my players for me kicking the crap out of them. I just get to have fun doing it. We've had some particularly fun moments with the Christmas specials of that's how our paladin several years back ended up with a weapon called Dex Mercy, if anybody's familiar with that bullshit. And then this past year was how our bard, he was a bard rune knight multi-class, and he'd found a new race that he actually wanted to be instead of a kobold. So he asked Santa, after being a toy, I kind of liked being a toy. Can I stay a toy? Sure. And I asked the group, does anybody care if he does a race switch? Because this is a lot bigger than, hey, can I switch one of my feats out at level up? Nobody cared. But my partner goes, hey, mute yourself. He can only do the switch if anytime he gets hit, it sounds like a dog squeaker toy going off. Yes. Unmute. Okay. What just happened? Nothing. Don't worry about it. Went to Dollar Tree, got a dog squeaker toy, and the next time he got hit, I squeezed that thing as hard as I could. So we've had some fun with the holiday specials.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. All right.
I've also had some similar experiences
Go for
with
it.
holiday
Tell
specials. My group that I'm currently running for, I've only been running with this specific group of people for about half the year now, but half of my player group I was running with for about a year. And I decided last year to run a holiday special around the time right before half my players decided to quit the game and leave. So I still had them ish. One player was there, the other two were already deciding to leave. Of the six, the three of them were taking off. But anyways, so I decided that my campaign is based in a solar system, in a multiple solar systems across this one galaxy with multiple planets and places to go. And my players are based around this idea of working for a guy who takes jobs other people don't really do. It's shady business.
Okay.
One of their jobs that they got was for the North Pole. Now the thing is, I have the North Pole as its own realm of existence, as opposed to the North Pole of a specific planet.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Feywilds but like its own thing. I had them go there completely outside of time and space from their own from their own adventures, to the point that they don't remember having been there in the main game. But everything that they did there will carry over to this next holiday special in 2 weeks. And I'm just gonna like blip them in, blip them back out, sort of thing. But last year they were hired by Krampus to deal with some missing elves, well, missing gnomes, really. So they got hired by Krampus because the big jolly red guys are too busy handling other logistics. Anytime there's a problem, Krampus has to deal with it. And I end up having it where Frosty the Snowman is a high-level sorcerer that's able to create more snowmen by using magical top hats that when they land on a person, turn them into another snowman minion that grow in size the more they consume. And they ended up having to fight one giant Frosty that and one of my players ended up using a fire element from their draconic bloodline as well as heat metal on their rapier to drill a hole, no joke, in Frosty's ass. And at the end of that, there was implications that there was someone else bigger behind the scene, bigger pulling the strings behind the scenes. I'm more or less for this next one going to be straight up just ripping off the Santa Claus movies.
So the first person who goes up to see Santa becomes Santa?
Yes. And the main villain is going to be Jack Frost.
Fair. Fair. Daisy, have you ever done any holiday specials? And it doesn't have to be Christmas, since you're more of a horror type.
I do 3 of them actually. I do one for Halloween, obviously. I do one for Christmas, and then this year was our first year to do one for Thanksgiving.
Please tell us about that. I've never thought about doing a Thanksgiving one.
So the Thanksgiving one wasn't actually Thanksgiving related. What I did instead is because not all of my players could be there. I decided to have them kidnapped by pixies and taken into the Feywilds, where they had to figure out what was going wrong with the pixie magic, aka the pixie dust. It turns out it was giant nocturnal slugs that were feeding off the plant, and they had to figure out how to dispatch them in order to make it back home because the pixies were not willing to let them go.
Fair enough. So not exactly Thanksgiving related.
Not exactly. My players are kind of spread all over the world, so they don't all have
okay, that makes sense.
Thanksgiving.
That absolutely
That's
makes
why I
sense.
refer to it as All American Mukbang.
Yeah.
I dropped my Thanksgiving Day special into the Discord.
And I saw you post something. Now I have to
will
go.
never apologize for sending like 5 level 4s against this thing.
Is it in our chat?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah. Turducken. I've seen the turkey hydra. I've seen that, but this is the first time I've seen a hydra like turkey with a chicken and a duck head. For those who are not looking at it like we are. Turducken.
I would say it's more of a chimera.
Fair. Challenge rating 20? Jesus. And they were what level?
4, if I remember correctly.
Damn. Okay, now I
Again.
gotta read this. But
Again,
Daisy,
my holiday specials are DM versus PC. I crush them to the ground as retaliation for the bullshit they pull.
I mean that is
my
more than
specials are
fair.
really, my specials are really the only time I'm nice to my players. Otherwise, I just kind of enjoy causing them nothing but chaos and panic. But the Christmas one that we did last year that we'll be continuing this year in a part 2 is somebody kidnapped Rudolph, and Santa brought in his most prized elves to try and figure out what was going on. And as they're going through Rudolph's little hut, there's other things kind of breaking out throughout Santa's town, Santa's village, and they have to go through each one of these crime scenes to figure out what's going on. And it wasn't until they started following footsteps out a back door that they happened upon one of the characters causing all the chaos. And it was the 13 Yule lads sent by their mother Gryla, who happens to be
Grilla?
Texas, a gorilla, yeah, Texas, who happens to be Santa's long lost sister. Just to kind of, cohesive story for them.
Fair.
Santa stepped in, brokered a deal, so to speak. And then it's gonna all go haywire in part 2.
I have to add a thought that I'm having, and I love that, and I want to know more about yours. But I have to add a thought that over Thanksgiving break, my mother wanted to go to the movies, and she wanted to go see Red One, which is the one with Chris Evans and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, with Santa and snowmen and all that, the Christmas special. The more I'm hearing the shit that you guys are saying, the wonderful stuff that you're saying, the more I realize, yeah, that game was that movie felt like it was a DM's one shot for a Christmas special, because there was just so much shenanigans happening in that movie. And that makes that movie a little better. My initial reaction to that movie was like, glad I saw it, good movie, don't really need to see again. Now I kind of want to see it again from that point of view. I like it. Let's see. Zach, I don't know if you've ever done a holiday special, have you? Not that I
have
can remember.
Not.
Well, maybe we
But
need to
I've enjoyed participating in yours.
I don't remember any of mine.
So one of them, I have a shtick for Halloween. I cosplay
Oh,
Deadpool.
yeah, that.
So I play on Halloween as Deadpool, playing as Deadpool. Because Deadpool likes playing himself. And then
I allowed this pun within a pun. What am I thinking?
Do you ever think that Deadpool works like Weeping Angels, and it's just every time there's another Deadpool in any form of media, it also has the ability to break the fourth wall, and therefore Deadpool playing as himself in that game would also be able to break the fourth wall and know he's being played by Deadpool?
Yes.
I absolutely have broken the fourth wall as Deadpool's character, Deadpool.
Yes.
Because, for example, this wasn't the first one I did. This wasn't Tiff's one shot. It was a friend of ours. He just pulled like real life stuff. So we were like just random characters thrown together, and we were fighting like xenomorphs or some shit. Character Deadpool was able to defeat somebody and take their Pokemon, which is a Dragonite that he has named Charizard.
No, it was a Charizard. You named it Dragonite.
Did I get backwards? It's been a while.
Yes, you got it backwards.
It's also been a long
Dragonite
day.
said Charizard.
I technically stopped working an hour ago.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long day. No,
We were
I do
talking about
remember
dragons,
because
and someone became more awake.
we were trying to figure out what the hell was going on with this one shot that he was coming up with, because he's a little bit of a character himself, so he's always coming up with odd stuff. And he just describes this one bandit just tossing this red and white ball up in the air, and then suddenly throws it to the ground, and out pops a fire-breathing dragon. And I remember freaking out because I was like, I have one Pokemon mini this big in my house, and it's fucking Charizard. I gotta go find it. And I ran away.
And then Tiff's Chris's one shots. I was Rudolph the Game Deer. He was a barbarian reindeer that I voiced as Macho Man Randy Savage.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was Tim the Enchanter, and I burned down Santa Claus's workshop.
Now that one I don't remember. I must have burned that from my memory. No, pun not intended. Fucking hell.
I said I would try. You're on your own.
I didn't mean to. I do it to myself. It hurts more. Ah, lovely.
Heard it's
All
something's
right.
confusion.
Himbo, did you ever do any? Oh wait, you already talked about it, right?
Yeah.
All right. It's Ubi that I'm thinking about, and we might still be having technical difficulties. Okay, I will assume.
I've seen him try a couple times.
You took down the technical difficulties thing, so I wondered. We'll have to get him another time. So
I just want to pet the chunk of a lizard.
I know,
Yes.
right? He is so cute.
He just shed, so he's extra spiky.
Aw.
The
All I
6-year-old is
can
also interested in the bearded dragon, and is asking questions. So
Hey.
I just want everyone to know. I just want everyone to know that at the gathering, that bearded dragon chose him.
Yeah.
I remember Himbo having to give him back to the rescue at the end of one day because he hadn't adopted it yet, and just this dragon was fighting in midair to get back to him. He is the cutest thing. And now we're just staring at him.
All right, buddy. Come on.
Now that would be a fun thing to do at a DM table, is just throw that down like, okay.
All right, you're
This
fighting
is
at
who
your
we're
ass.
fighting. Yep.
If he runs at your character, you're
That's
getting
who's
it.
getting attacked.
If he eats your character, I'm sorry, you die.
All right. Ah, lovelies. We are. I'm looking at Knight's puns in the chat. That's what I'm doing right now. But
Hembo, you need to play as a Pokemon master and just deploy Bearded Dragon as Pokemon. Just do like a Pokemon campaign and actually have a Pokemon of your own.
I'm an ex-king in search of reclaiming my throne, and I have a dragon. Breathe fire, Tad Cooper. Where are you going?
he's going on an adventure.
He's probably going to try jumping off my shoulder because this guy doesn't
Quest.
understand that he can't actually fly.
But he's a dragon.
What is gravity for 500, Alex?
All right. So the next question I kind of came up with randomly last night, and I'm wondering where we'll take it, because one of the questions that I get a lot from people who post, and especially post anonymously, is they, as a DM, struggle with things like imposter syndrome, wondering how to handle themselves and players who kind of expect the game to be like stream worthy, like as good as Critical Role or Dimension 20 and things like that. And one of the things that came to my mind last night was, what is a reason that you could not stream your game? There's probably many different reasons, but instead of just like, oh, we don't want to, or it's just for us, like, I definitely could not stream my game for multiple reasons. I'll start and see if you guys can come up with anything to add to it. I noticed in the last game that I DM'd, this was on Tuesday this week, it started at 7 p.m. After work, and every sentence or two, I kind of lost my train of thought and did an or an and to the point where I noticed it and it started to bother me. ADHD was hitting hard that day, and my dog was playing next to me, and I could not keep a straight thought. So I would not definitely want to stream that game, just because it's not professional enough, in my opinion. No one would want to see me stumbling over my words constantly. But I feel like that's going to be something that more people deal with than others. We are not scripted, and therefore we're going to have ums and uhs and stutters and whatnot. And the other reason
Also,
is
we're not
because,
professional voice actors.
well, yes, the voice acting,
don't
I'm not good at that.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying we don't have. Well, I mean, maybe you a little bit because you're a teacher, but like, I don't think any of us really have careers of speaking.
That is
One
true.
of my players does.
Oh, that's cool.
Cheater.
What do they do?
I remember that Popo Blanco is one of my players. Stop it.
Oh,
Yeah, well, fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
Where are you going?
And the other
Well,
thing
hi,
is,
Father. I
my
want to scratch your back.
my husband, and now with my newest campaign, one of our friends, has a tendency to break out into song or play songs constantly that are memes for the situation, and we would get copyrighted claimed so fast. I mean, if there's a character and an NPC who go off into a room and then we fade to black, there's Barry White playing suddenly out of the speakers that my husband is controlling. It's like, fucking honey, stop it. Or what was it that you played? Like, you played animals?
Oh, the one I really like playing is if we're like in the woods and we hear chanting. Blue Sweet Hook on Feeling.
I like
The introduction
I like the
to
characters
yep.
go into a room, fade to black, and it's Careless Whisper.
or just there's an NPC that I describe as being like extremely, good looking, attractive, definitely suave, and then suddenly Wham is playing. It's like, God fucking damn it, I'm gonna take that thing from you.
You can certainly try.
It is funny but distracting, but also
Well, I might as well
that's
go next
something
'cause
that we could not stream because of that.
Yeah, and I might as well go next because we kind of stream it. We kind of flow into. Hey, I like music. I like being. I have no music talent, but I'm very music oriented. One time, my wife said music is my mistress. I
You
love
said
music. No, I did not. I'm not. I was not creative enough with words. You said that. So I like music. I like playing for the moment and all that. And this, I mean, as far as like atmospheric music, yeah, I can find some non-copyright whatever. But when you have a lightning dragonborn strike somebody with like a thunderbolt, yeah, I want to play Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and that's very copyrighted. So music holds me back. I love my soundtracks. And in the campaign I'm currently writing, I really want to have physical stuff for it because of how this creation is going. I really want to have the tangible element for it.
He wants to, when he says that, he means he wants to be able to pull out the miniature and put it out on the table.
Yeah.
And that
feel
would
like
make things
it's,
harder to stream.
Similar. I only have 2 reasons I don't stream currently. Well, technically 3. But the third one is that I'm still working on the technical setups for streaming because I do plan to eventually stream my campaign.
Cool.
And under the name of Natural 2, it could be worse. Because I feel like there's going to be more people seeing bad streams and bad podcasts of D&D, so you know that there is not a status quo of Matt Mercer or Brennan Lee Mulligan. They're not the status quo, they're the exceptions. But the only 2 reasons I don't stream at the moment is I am afflicted with what I call the curse of the bard, because I love singing. And I love getting the right songs and music and whatnot for a moment. I'm that guy who's going to play Careless Whisper. I have an entire idea for a campaign that's based around this grim, dark fantasy thing with musicals thrown in, using actual musicals. But I'm worried about getting hit with copyrights for that exact reason. The only other reason is that not all of my players have the capability of even doing this and being up on a VOD Ninja for the audio and videos and whatnot. One of my players for the longest time was only playing because he had his phone open on his truck to play.
Yep.
But with things changing and moving forward, I'm hoping that sometime next year I'm able to actually start that stream and start doing Natural 2 so that people can know that it doesn't matter what your campaigns actually look like. You don't have to be the next Brandley Mulligan or the next Matt Mercer or Aubrey or any of the professionals doing things and getting paid up the big bucks to do it. And I'm not going to do it for the money either. I'm doing it just to show people, hey, look at how bad it could be, and your games are probably still better.
Side note, Reptar is wanting some limelight in the camera again.
Trying to run off that way, off past my computer, because he has decided that anything on the table is his personal jungle gym, and I am not dealing with that right now.
All right.
I'm ready to put him back in his cage. It is past his bedtime.
Oh, he might be a little cranky.
Mm-hmm.
Daisy, have you
I'll go do
ever
that.
streamed or planned on it, or how do you feel about streaming in general?
I have not done it. So I have a couple reasons why I wouldn't. The first one being that when I got the current group together, the question was raised quite a few times by people interested because I was doing a group full of newbies who had never played before.
Okay, that's fair.
And they were nervous about the thought of, oh, I'm going to put this on the internet for everyone to see me making mistakes. So I decided not to. The second reason is because of what I do, which we're not going to get into that. I do have to be very careful about my online image. So it's kind of also the reason you don't see a whole lot of posts and things from me. But then the third reason is I hate having to be tech-minded. I hate it like there is no tomorrow. My whole day, every single day at work, is nothing but tech stuff. And if I have to deal with one more tech thing after work, I might scream.
I feel like I should be that way, but like I have laptop, desktop, work computer, 5 monitors in my office. I should be like that though.
I've got my 3 screens, laptop screen with the 2 extras, and we're good. If I have to have anything more than that, I don't want it.
That is the thought that I hadn't considered, but I'm kind of in the same boat as you. As a teacher, I keep my TikTok PG because I know my students know my TikTok. But when I post things about, find us streaming D&D and whatnot, I will post warnings like 18 plus only. And I know most of the time when I watch or I go onto our streams, it'll have that warning as well. At least to cover my own butt if a student of mine decides to watch it and then clips me like cursing or something and then that goes viral. Whatever. I was very cautious and very hesitant to start streaming when Dustin reached out to me. God, that was 4 years ago. Fucking hell. But just because I didn't know, would this come back to bite me in the ass? But like I said, it's been 4 years. I have so much fun streaming online, and I've met amazing people. Like Teeny, I've not met one witch lady yet, but someday we'll be catching up, and made a bunch of new friends just from streaming. I mean, like all of y'all. I've met Dark Crescent Studios now. Yay. I've met Himbo. I've met my husband.
Shot darts
Daisy,
at
I
me.
guess you're the only one here I haven't met yet.
You shot darts at me, missed most of the time, and then broke your own Nerf gun.
My fucking Nerf gun broke on day 2, okay?
It favored
I'm
my
not
puns.
okay with that. I'm still pissed. And I like that one too. But anyway, I'm literally thinking right now, if someone said that I had to either quit streaming online or, lose my job, I'd kind of, obviously I need the money, but I would want to, throw a big middle finger to my job and be like, okay, I'll go find something else, because this is the thing that's keeping me sane, not work. I like doing this. I like putting stuff out there for other people to see, because Himbo, like you said, people need to see that you can play D&D and not be professional. You can just be having fun. But I need to get my husband to tone down the music, that's all.
I know I've streamed a few games, but my main home game, the biggest reason that we actually don't is because several of our players don't want to have that online presence. So for me with my table, it's the players don't want to. Like I've streamed before. We did a stream with me running Bunkers and Badasses, and then we streamed another player running Cyborg that not many people actually play or run. So that, having the tech side of everything wasn't too terrible, setting it up with like, oh hey, capture my Roll20 screen, because we played online anyways. But for us, it was largely just, number one, my players are also not PG by any stretch of the imagination. Oh dear God.
Oh God, no.
and I'm not even talking like
Well,
There are things that come out of some of my players' mouths that would make you question, like, what? Did you really just say that? And there are times where my players deserve smacks upside the head for some of the shit that they say.
well, too, if you're playing online, like, because my group does, since we're kind of scattered all throughout the world, you're getting a glimpse of people's lives, and they're not always necessarily willing to share that part of them with the entire world.
Exactly.
It may just be something for you guys.
That's true.
And it doesn't bother me for them to be like, hey, no, like, our main group, we don't want to have this be a stream. Like, cool, that's fine. The majority of my streaming stuff is my mini painting series that I do that I need to get back on, and then me streaming my artwork. So, like, working on the dice, working on the dragons, doing the wood burning that I do. That's my main streaming. So, and lately, Veilguard, but...
Like, I don't show my camera. It's not necessarily me hiding my face. It's more me hiding my disaster in the office.
Fair.
I know when I eventually go to stream my games, I'm probably not even going to stream them. I'm probably going to pre-record them, and that way I know where I can edit, where I can cut if I'm going too long with a song or whatever, because I want a message to be brought across. I will only do small clips of it to avoid those copyrights. Or maybe I'll just have like I'll cut the song like 2 seconds into the beginning, have just a blurb pop up of follow this link for the song, and then go back with the last 2 seconds of the song.
That could work.
If you love music that much, you could find yourself some indie bands who are willing to let you lend their music and get yourself like a standard release form. Just saying.
I technically already have 2 artists that I can use without any issues. Nathan Sharp, or also known as Nate Wants to Battle, has made it public that any of his songs can be used for any reason for on anyone's stream for at any time. And
cool.
Kyle Stibbs has made it very apparent that they enjoy having their music used for Dungeons and Dragons.
Arcane Anthems as well is another really big one, who has 5 separate albums that are specifically designed to be used as D&D background music. I actually use it frequently in my streams because a lot of it's really freaking good.
My issue is when I go to use songs and stuff, it's because of the message in that song I'm trying to use as exposition.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. Really?
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Did not know that. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you for the warning. Well, I think just in general, that was a long tangent on you can stream if you want. You don't have to. But the essential idea is imposter syndrome is going to hit every single one of us. And if you feel like that your game is not stream worthy, remember, most games are not streamed. Most games never get streamed.
There are more people streaming D&D out there than just Critical Role or Roll 20 or Dimension 20 or Legends of Avernus or any number of them out there. Dungeons and Daddies. There's so many people who are streaming. If you look at a lot of them, you'll find some of them maybe aren't as high quality, but they're having just as much fun.
Exactly. So, for those who have imposter syndrome, I will say what I always say to that. If your players come back, you're doing a good job. All right. So, we need to find a more fun topic here. Let's see. We don't have any questions from the audience just because I believe our audience number is low since we've switched to the Versal Plane. But We need a fun topic. Last time we talked about all things sexy in D&D. I don't think we can top that too easily. What do you guys think? Did you guys
Well,
go
I
away from
mean-
that with any lingering thoughts?
I mean, I'm sure we can top it if we try, but I think we should switch it up.
Oh, absolutely.
I said I'd try. I'm not doing very well.
I'm not acknowledging that. I'm not. I'm not.
I'm already
Uh,
sick. I don't need you making me even worse.
By saying you're not acknowledging
damage,
it,
psychic
you are
damage,
acknowledging the
psychic
thing.
Shut up. I hate you and your own logic. All right. Let's see. Well, I have a question that has come up in recent times, and we do have two dice makers here on the stream. So this is going to be interesting because of that aspect. But I have had people ask, how many dice do you have as a dungeon master? And I have heard various different answers where people have all of the dice. They only have a set that they will rely on, maybe a few, but and then there was one who said that they will have a set of dice for every character that they create. So, as our dice makers just split. Well, Daisy, I guess we're starting with you. How many dice do you have as a DM? What is your dice go-to as a DM?
So I have 6 different sets that I love. And I kind of, this is gonna be terrible, but I kind of just switch them out as I see fit. Especially considering sometimes, you know, your dice aren't kind to you on occasion. And the second that it becomes apparent that that specific set of dice is just going to cause problems, it's time to move on to the next one. And like I said, I'm a chaotic DM. So if I'm rolling some dice, I need them to be on my side, not the player's side.
Absolutely. I think it might
Jeff
have
doesn't
been.
understand the experience.
Fuck off. I think it might have been Smoking Glue Guns who was selling. Night.
I made things easier on myself. These are just my D10s and percentiles.
Dear God. Oh Jesus! I didn't even see you come back. You blended in with the background because that entire
did you
thing
match?
covered your.
So
What a fucking god.
I also have a stack that my partner has hostage as weight loss goals that I handed off to him before anybody tries to give anybody any amount of shit. I handed them to him and said, I get a setback for every X amount of pounds lost. So he just went, okay, if that's what you want me to do. So he is not perpetuating that. He is just listening to me. So these are all of my BS singles. These are all of my just random singles. And then there's
Nah, I don't think yet.
Jesus, girl.
So I feel like there are 2 types of dice goblins. There are those like that, where you have all of your dice in their sets separated. And then there's me, with my horde. And I don't even know if most of these are a set. I have them sorted by
I
type.
have no organization except they are in a bag. That is my organization.
All of my dice are separated by type into these penny gallon jars, except for my metal dice, which are in a nice velvet sack. And those are currently in my bag because I was hanging out with a friend a couple weeks ago.
Knight is showing us his camera right now. What's that, Knight? Filled with dice. Holy shit.
And
I think I'm a little too witchy with my dice because I keep them all separated. They are by them sets themselves, And I feel like if one set rubs up against a different set and it's got negative energy, it's just going to pass that negative energy into the next set. So,
Which is why
like,
I sell dice spas.
yeah, they get like smudged on occasion. They get cleansed with selenite. Like my dice are clean.
So I know, because the question that was at hand was, how do I determine what type of dice that I use? While our game was going on weekly, I build palettes for whatever character I'm playing.
Oh, you're
And
a
it's
Zack. Okay.
And it's usually between 5 to 6 sets that I'll maybe not necessarily have the whole set in there, but I'll pick dice and the d20s that I know I'm going to use the most. And then as a DM, I was rotating out my dice on a weekly basis based on the things that was going on in the game. So that way the horde is getting used. Because
One
let's
moment.
face it, that is in fact a horde.
Who's this for?
Your current game.
This is Annalise?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is exactly what my husband does. He gets a bunch of dice that fits the color palette of his character. He has a bunch of blue for the one-shot character that he just had for Caspian. He has dice to the point where, like you, he could just go and find 5 or 6 sets. I can hear that.
I don't think I see the stolen dice in there.
Jesus, that was my face.
Forgot to take attack dice.
What'd you say, Himbo?
I don't think I see the stolen dice in there.
No, the stolen dice would not fit this. The stolen dice are in the blue set. Go get the blue set.
I know the question was how do you pick and everything as well. For me, since I'm primarily a DM, I like using my metal dice because I like the heavy thunk sound that they make when they hit the table, and it's more intimidating. And I also like the hollow dice I have because they make the nice chime sounds. Otherwise, if I'm a player or if I'm playing any other sort of game that requires dice, I just walk over to my shelf and reach into the jar of the correct size die and grab whatever one's there.
There. I'm laughing because I hear Zach's dice through his headset. Just ASMR for DMs.
I dumped out the dice, right? For DMing, I have a set based on Tiamat. And I lost track after my 150th set.
Wow.
Yeah, he has a lot. I only
Yeah,
have
but
one.
counting?
My favorite of the dice that I have is a middle finger salute to me and a middle finger salute to my player.
Nice.
And
Yeah,
those are the ones
we've got.
that are fun.
Can I find the stolen dice so I can actually get them back? Oh, they're in here.
I can count my dice because I know these are in sets of 18.
Yeah, there you go, Himbo. Your stolen.
They are in.
My stolen dice are in here.
Nice.
Oh, shit.
Speaking of which, I've got another set of Dice Baby in my pressure pot right now.
Nice. I might have to buy that for myself for Christmas.
Just so they can end up in the bag again?
Yes.
Damn it. That's what that look meant. He was giving me a look. I was like, what does that look mean? Oh, fuck. Yeah. So we can add it to the horde. I only have one metal die that I've not used as a DM. This is my wild magic only D20. So when my wild magic sorcerer has to roll, this is the dice for it. But her colors were pink and green, and I gotta say, Dark Crescent, your random dice that I got from you from your gumball machine goes perfectly for her.
Woohoo! Glad to be of service. At some
When
point,
I DM, I tend to just use like 3 or 4 sets. But if I have my first campaign, I had a set that was just the BBEG dice, and it was his colors. And since then, they have been locked away in a felt bag and have never seen the light of day. So, does anyone else have a set of dice that they refuse to use now? They like, this is done or it's cursed.
I have a set
Did you stop? Oh my god.
that I refuse to play until I play a healer. Because the set that I have is I actually have the extra life full set.
Okay.
So that one is one of those sets that I'm like, nope, this isn't getting touched until I'm playing a healer.
I don't want to remind those who are watching, these are not mine. These are my husband's. He is. The sad thing is I know what character this is for just by the color scheme. So, take your
I know
dice.
I have a
It's a
particular
little
palette where
low on
my
the screen,
players
by
are
the
like,
way.
Oh,
It's
was it
being
low?
covered by your name.
Well, how dare. There we go. How's it?
I have a fun palette that my players, if they see my dice for the night, realize that they're about to potentially die. It includes the Dice Macabre set, so the one made entirely out of skulls,
Ooh.
Kraken's Red Rain of Pain, and then the similarly colored white with blood spatters instead of the black blood spatters. If they see those three in my palette, they went, "Oh no, we pissed her off."
Oh no.
Because those
I love that.
because those dice know that they are my it's time to play dice.
I think
Himbo
as we've
wrote in
determined,
chat.
I don't do sets of dice. I have dice. I have certain dice I don't use, like individual dice I don't like to use. I have 3 dice that I don't use because they're the wrong number of sides.
Mhm.
I have a D30, a D60, and a D24.
Huh.
Which I find are fun shapes. But I don't use them because there's nothing to use them with. Otherwise, I have one D20 I don't use normally. And in fact, it's a die I give to my players if I feel they need the help. Because I'm pretty sure it's not weighted correctly because I've never seen it roll below a 12. And if I feel they need help and they're rolling bad, I'll grab a random die and hand it to them and go, "Why don't you try again? Your die is having trouble, try again." And 9 times out of 9, they'll roll higher.
That is a very chaotic good of you, sir. But pausing this conversation because we possibly have an Ubi with us today. Ubi?
Am I visible? Am I audible?
You
Yeah.
are
Currently.
both, sir.
I don't know why my fucking computer hates video, but I'll figure out that problem later.
That was the most
We'll
aggressive.
figure it out, man.
That was the most aggressive curse I've heard from anyone in a while.
I mean, well,
was
remember,
visceral.
he's been working on that for an hour and a half trying to join us.
Yeah.
So, dude, props to you. Congrats on getting back in. Knock on wood, you don't leave in 5 minutes and not come back.
It shouldn't do it. I don't know what it was. I think it was just because it was like a new system being introduced, and I had a whole bunch of presets already. So
All right. Well, Ubi, at the beginning of the stream, we all go around and tell a little bit about ourselves, where people can find us, and our DMing experience, like how long you've been a DM. So we're going to take a second here and have you introduce yourself.
sure. I'm probably the least experienced DM here, but I still have over a decade of experience playing Pathfinder. My name is Ubi Doo. I've been playing Pathfinder, like I said, for over 10 years, mostly as a player. In recent years, I think it was about 2 years ago, almost to date, that I wrote my first campaign and was actually the DM for that campaign. I'm working on my second one. It's just taking a bit of time to find inspiration for the second one as well. Most people can find me on TikTok as well, just Ubi Doo, and if you see just the regular talking hand, I believe I have the little guy here with me as well. If you see a face that looks like this, then you know exactly who it is. I make Dungeons and Dragons content, mostly abusing the mechanics and making DMs have a living nightmare.
Hence why I brought him on, because of course, as soon as I saw that he was taking the rules and bending them too as well, I knew he had to be on here. The chaotic character.
I'm a DM's favorite. I'm the one guy that they make have every creature have counterspell, even if that creature can't have counterspell or something of that nature.
The squirrel in the tree has counterspell.
The squirrel in the tree has counterspell.
Yep.
Remember,
Well-
you can cast counterspell on anybody by making out with them. You can't
Not
cast
if
a spell
there's,
if your tongue's tied.
Not if there's no verbal components.
But
Fair.
I'm also on Twitter right now. I'm moving away from Twitter and going to Blue Sky as well. So you can find me as Ubidu on Blue Sky. I'm also having a Twitch in the future. My goal is eventually having 10,000 followers on TikTok in order to just bring back the Twitch as well, because then I can start slowly moving away from my day job if people find me entertaining enough.
Very good, very good. And isn't that the dream of everybody, is to get off of the grind and get on to just D&D or Pathfinder or whatever your
Please.
pleasure is all day long?
As
But-
somebody whose main source of income is their art, you don't get off that grind. It just becomes worse.
That's fair.
Yeah.
The only nice thing is that you don't have a boss to report to, except, you know, the voice in the back of your head that's going,
I don't know. I tend to think that another nice thing is I take a nap in the middle of the day. I won't be able to do that for long though, because I'm about to have a kid. But that's not the point.
You nap when the kid naps, okay? That's what you do.
Never got it. Well, I actually know how
Join
that
me
is
in
because I am the
insomnia.
second oldest of 7, which means I had to raise the bottom 4.
Oof, yuck.
Wow.
I do exactly what teacher does and pretty much just come home from work every single day, fall asleep, wake up at 8, call my significant other, and then go back to bed. Rinse and repeat. And I
It says-
somehow find time to make videos in between all that.
It has been a stressful month, at least for the teaching world. But let's leave work behind and talk about the thing we actually are here to enjoy. So, bringing up Ubi's introduction as a Pathfinder main, what TTRPGs have you guys experienced with? And if you have experience outside of D&D, do you have one that you prefer over D&D, or do you have aspects or components of that game that you wish D&D would bring in?
I've played a game that is self-published on Lulu. I was actually part of the original playtesters for it. It's called Mytherian Heroic Fantasy, and it's really nice because in the end, inevitably, you don't need a DM, because every single bit of everything that you do for the game is built off of tables. So you get a set of tiles with it, and you're set out however many blocks that you feel like doing, based on whatever different module that you're using. And then you will flip it, you will roll to see what's in that room. You get warning counters that go up and down based on enemies that can show up and whether or not you're going to get jumped, what kind of treasure you find in there, what kind of event might be happening in that room. So you could have somebody that's like in charge of running it and just like that's their only job. But realistically, y'all don't actually need a DM. So it's really nice for if you just want to have something that nobody has to essentially worry about it.
Huh. It's almost in that way like a board game instead of a game with a dungeon master in it. And I've at least from my understanding of your explanation of it, and I have not played anything like that. I don't know how we would feel about something like that.
It's a lot of fun because you can still have those role play elements, and you can still have like for example, my best friend's character, he was Marty, not Martin, the omniscient. I forget what class Marty was, but he was basically playing the stupidest like orc troll something or another ever. And it's funny because his D&D character is Martin, not Marty. So he kind of like flipped the back, and you can still have those elements to bring them in of, you know, player interaction and dealing with the things that are in the dungeon, but it makes it really easy to be like, let's just pick this up and do it. and
Fair.
have those TTRPG elements that you don't have to necessarily sit there and rack your brain going, oh god, what do I do next? How do I do this? You know, it's really nice to just pick it up and go.
It sounds like a great kind of game. Like if you as a DM are kind of burning out, you could just pick this up for a little while to give yourself kind of a boost, play it, and then hopefully that will recharge you a little bit.
Absolutely, I agree. It sounds like a nice little break where you can not have to think too hard for a second. All right. Anyone else? I will say that I've not DM'd or GM'd anything besides D&D. I am still what I would consider a baby DM. Only been doing it for, I know I say 7 years, and that's a long time, but I still feel new to it. But I love hearing about things that people love about Pathfinder or anything else out there. So, Daisy, are you a DM main? Do you venture out into anything else?
The only other thing that I've ventured out into is a game called Goblin. It's kind of exactly how it sounds. You play little goblin characters, and they can get into all kinds of chaos. And it is kind of a cool game, and it's, you know, you can make it as long or as short as you want to. But it's fairly simple, so there's not like a whole lot of game mechanics behind the scenes.
They're out of Ohio.
Are they?
Yes, because the author was 2 booths down from me at a Catacon this November.
Ohio isn't
that's
real.
cool.
I'm aware of that, but still.
So does that mean my wife's not real and we're all mass hallucinating?
Yeah, probably.
What?
Who are you?
Jay's from Ohio too. Jay's from Ohio. I mean, Ohio is just the
This
Feywild of
hallucination
America.
has
Let's be honest.
layers. No, that's Florida.
I'm still asleep.
All
Look,
right,
as sick as I've been,
Goblin.
y'all are a
That's
fever dream at this point.
Zach, I
I
feel
think-
like we need to look into Goblin and get that for your Oops Kobolds Only game.
Sure.
It feels like it would be a good combination.
Kobolds versus goblins. It's just West Side Story.
The
Only if they
snapping-
come out
the
snapping
finger
at each
snap is
other.
mandatory.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
mandatory.
It's completely out of sync though.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it, it's 4-4, not 3-4. Let's go. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it goes without saying, if anybody's seen me on here before, I talk about the fact that I have played, grew up on so many different TTRPGs, it's not even funny at this point. I have run for... I grew up on D&D 3.5 and ended up running my first game through Pathfinder 1st Edition. I've run D&D 3.5 and 5e. I've run Pathfinder. I've run Pathfinder 2e. I'm currently running technically Spelljammer 2nd Edition. I've run Shadowrun, Heroes Unlimited, World of Darkness, the Fallout TTRPG, the Wendy's TTRPG. That was fun.
I did run that one. I remember.
If you have that, could you possibly send it to me? Because it has just been scrubbed from the internet.
My buddy, my best friend, who's one of my players, is the one who actually has it. I'll have to reach out to him, see if he still has it. But dang, what else was it? There's a Star Wars TTRPG, a Marvel TTRPG I've run. Just there's, I can't even keep going. The house I grew up in had an entire bookshelf dedicated exclusively to TTRPG rulebooks.
Wow.
There was my first non Dungeons and Dragons game I was ever gifted as a child, and I say as a child loosely, I was like 15, was Car Wars, which is Death Race. And I find that the more TTRPGs you look into, at least reading through their main rulebook, the more open-minded you can be when it comes to flexibility of rules, how different things can be implemented, and just in general the vastness that comes from basically playing pretend with people and deciding that random polyhedral shapes with numbers on them are going to dictate how accurate you are at your make-believe. Which is why my whole thing is homebrew himbo. I've done so much, I've played so much, I have that experience to be like, let's make something new. And I don't even make things that are new. I make things that other people have thought of as well, things that already exist. I just take it from one format and I cram that square peg into that round hole.
Fair. And actually, on that note, we are getting some questions from the audience that would go very along with that. But I do want to hear from Ubi, and I know Zack has some things that he likes from Pathfinder. If Ubi doesn't bring it up, then maybe he would want to add that. But Ubi, have you only done Pathfinder? Have you ventured into anything else?
Most of my group has been doing Pathfinder ever since we were in community college. That's actually how we all met together. I had some old high school friends that I saw there one day, two that I recognized, and they were all sitting down playing Pathfinder First Edition. I said, what's going on with this? That's also how I got into Magic and a whole bunch of other stuff. Some other TTRPGs that we've looked into as well is Starfinder, also created by Paizo. We looked into Pathfinder Second Edition as well. It just didn't really click with us. There were some key components that were either missing from First Edition or improved or not quite improved upon in Second Edition. So we all just kind of stuck to First Edition. Starfinder was one of them. We've been trying to get into that. Blades in the Dark we've also looked into. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay we also looked into. I know that a lot of our, like my personal store and everything that we go to, we have people who have done everything from the Doctor Who version of Dungeons and Dragons to the Star Wars version of Dungeons and Dragons. But the three that I've mainly wanted to get into for my other group were Blades in the Dark, which is a steampunk-esque kind of setting for Dungeons and Dragons. It uses elements from it. Starfinder is also one of them. It just uses like I can actually pull up some of the specifics on Starfinder as well. Like you have ships, mechs, vehicles, exploration, character logs, like a bunch of other stuff that you could do. It has its own character builder online. For Pathfinder, we use like an Excel program as well. That's how we've been able to do a lot of our homebrew as well, kind of like homebrew himbo, and come up with a lot of our own custom classes that we've done before. And I'm currently poking at the door of Paizo, just knocking on them, being a nuisance, and saying, hey, let me in.
Fun fact,
That
by the way,
would be awesome.
Pathfinder 2 character creation is heavily inspired by Shadowrun character creation.
I did not know that.
Huh, how about that? I'm currently looking at Blades in the Dark because that sounds incredibly cool. But I agree with what you've added and what everyone else is saying. Is like when you start venturing out and learning about other games, even though I haven't run them, I've read about them and I know what I like about certain games that I want to pull in or change about D&D, and it does make you more flexible and it makes the games more fun. And not every DM or GM is going to agree. Some of them are very strict to the rules, but I'm not that kind of person. For example, Zack, you've got you have some rules that you've experienced playing Pathfinder that I've not played, but you bring up, and I agree, it sounds like a very good addition to D&D. What were a couple that you liked from Pathfinder?
The main thing that I wanted to, at least for my campaign when I do it, bring in is I really like the I think it's specifically Pathfinder 2 action mechanic, because you don't always want to attack, you don't always want to run. Just, being fixed at action, bonus action, move, it can stagnate creativity. If you're in a battle and you're desperate, you just gotta fight. Having a mechanic like Pathfinder 2 has, you can attack for all three stages. There is a detriment as you keep it swinging, which is honestly realistic, but you don't have to use a move if you don't want to. You can swing again or shoot again, and I really like that. I feel like that's liberating.
Yeah, in D&D it's very set on you can attack and then you can move, or you can do this and then you can do that. But
Like
with the Pathfinder
if you're
aspect is you can choose.
if you're being flanked and you aren't a rogue and you can't bonus action disengage, well, you're not going to move anywhere usually. Most of the time.
Disengage is an action itself that you can take as opposed to your standard action.
I'm using it as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I have to disengage as an action and I don't have any bonus actions because I'm a fighter or something, then I'm not going to disengage. I'm not going to give up my action because literally I would not be able to do anything except move away. But with the Pathfinder version, I could take one part of my action sequence to disengage, and then another part I could attack, and then another part I could move. Finding a nice balance with that is what we're going to work on for his campaign when he begins running that. But I think there's a lot of potential there.
I definitely homebrew for my games the Pathfinder action economy, as opposed to having standard action, move action, bonus action as your choices. It's just you have 3 actions, do what you want. But I also pulled something that I don't know if it's from Pathfinder First Edition, or if my dad pulled it from something else, or if he just came up with it on his own.
Okay.
The hold action shouldn't be a replacement of your reaction. Because you're using up your main action, usually your movement action and bonus action and reaction to do a reaction. The way that I grew up, basically, the hold action took up an action slot or a bonus action if you weren't using action slots to move your turn later down the initiative order.
I will admit, I believe now that you say that is the rules as written. I have never run it that way. You say you're holding your attack for if anyone comes a step closer. The moment they take a step closer, boom, there's your attack. That's from your turn, not your reaction. I understand the concept of you're reacting to something, therefore it's a reaction. But yeah, I agree with your dad. That does not need to be done that way.
The only reason I even knew that was the rules as written is because of the one shot I was in for Knight's game. I didn't even know that was rules as written.
Okay, fair. All right. There is an influx of questions all of a sudden, and wow, I'm trying to understand a few of them. I'm trying to find the one that I saw that I was like, oh, Himbo's gonna love that question. Where'd it go?
I think I know exactly which question.
I'm trying to find it. Do you see it? Because I do not.
It just disappeared, but it's in the chat a little bit higher up.
It was a question to the effect of, oh, there it is. Okay, I found it. Moving it up. There we go. Have you ever homebrewed a campaign so much that you've considered making a module for it? If so, what type of campaign was it? I am very curious as to all of the people here. If you have a campaign that you have created, maybe you're not ready to write a module of it, but you absolutely love this campaign idea that you had and you want to share it with the group. Anyone?
I've considered writing out the stuff that I've done for my holiday specials, because so many of them I've taken and done not just, hey, I'm coming in and laying out the smack to you, like I've joked about. That's basically what my holiday specials tend to be, but more so that there is a slight story involved. So like some of my Thanksgiving Day specials have actually had like, you're going into a feast. My Easter special, I actually didn't even run for my group. I ran it for a different group of dice makers because they'd heard about my holiday specials, so I put together an Easter story for them. I've got a couple of different Christmas ones that I've done, and several Halloween ones that people have been like, you know, this was fun. You should write this down so you remember it for later. And I'm like, I could, but work.
I like that. I'm trying to remember the specifics of my first campaign because it may not have been perfect, but it was my first homebrew campaign and my first campaign ever. So I really swung for the fences. Um, so it's near and dear to my heart. But I do love the world that I created for my campaign. Now I decided I did not want to run it in Faerun. I wanted my own thing, and I spent a few months just jotting down some ideas for it. I even paid an artist to develop the map of it. So I'm tempted to at least do a little bullet point esque module for it. Just like, here's the world, here's ideas, go for it. Um, but I don't know. God, if I needed to talk about it, I could probably talk about it for like an hour straight.
I can talk
Ubi,
about your first campaign for forever.
yeah, I know you loved that first campaign, but that was because
Like,
that campaign was my nightmare.
So we had a group of Dragonborn bards that we called Dragon Force, because you're welcome. And like,
Well,
I would actually make playlists for our air quotes albums, and literally all the music I listened to make those playlists, it literally shifted my music world. Like, my taste in music has actually shifted because of that campaign.
But I wrote the BBG, the problem. I think my favorite part about that campaign was just how much my players hated my BBEG and his henchmen, to the point that there was a man and a woman that they knew would pop up occasionally and, you know, cause trouble for them. They just referred to them as the bitch and the bastard. They never bothered to learn their names. Just they were the bitch
I
and the
don't
bastard.
remember their names.
Exactly. But you know who I'm talking about. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you could go and get their mini off the table right now because you hated them so much. But Ubi, you said that you were coming up with your own campaign ideas.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to bring to fruition eventually, that I do have future plans with my personal DM, is some of the campaigns that we have that are very laid out in not really chronological order. We experience them throughout different portions of the timeline, and then we have an overarching story known as post. Basically, players that are in the campaign, mostly it's me, or sometimes it's in the case of the one campaign that I wrote, they have an effect on the overarching story in its entirety. And then certain players, sometimes it's different. Sometimes you have a person who has one person in post, or sometimes you could be like me. When we first came up with the idea years ago, I had a total of 5 characters in post. And we continued that idea as well, but we sort of cut it down to the limitation of how many characters affected it, basically making the campaigns kind of shorter, so that way the story didn't get muddled up between interaction of just random people, because not everyone could do it. If the retirement of the character happened, then they stayed in their respective campaigns, and they never went into post, unless they made a character, heck, in post if they wanted to. That's something that we have future plans for. I have wanted to make modules or like certain things for my first campaign that I did. Its title was Hollows because it took place during a Hollow Earth. It's revolved around the Hollow Earth theory.
Okay.
Where there's basically, like the whole underground, there's this organization that's meant to be able to keep an eye on the Hollow Earth, and they have one specialist. He's basically the equivalent of Steve Irwin as a D&D character, and I created an entire bestiary around it. But once they went down there, they realized the reason why I had to create an entire bestiary, I mean multi-page hybrid animals, is because they were hybrid animals, all adapted to their own environments. So that's one of the things that I have wanted to like, that I've been fine-tuning over the years. The other one is a dark western type, because my DM may not like firearms in his game. They're quite broken in Pathfinder, but I don't have a problem with it because I found workarounds. I found out how to be able to utilize them in game effectively to where it doesn't like hinder the player from purchasing a firearm and they have to spend their entire time outside of everything managing all of it.
Okay, I like that. Let's see, Himbo, you're the homebrew king.
So to make a long answer short, I don't think I'll ever be able to make any of my games or campaigns into a module for a few reasons. One, I suck at writing. All of my games are fly by the seat of my pants, run it as I see fit. Right now, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow for my D&D game. I just know that where they are right now. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know where they're going to go next. So I'm not very good at writing things down, so I don't think I'd even be able to take what already exists in my campaign and try to make a module out of it. However, that being said, I am the kind of person who can world build. And I may not be able to write a module, but I am trying very hard to create a world such as the Forgotten Realms or Exandria. And that is what my campaign I run is based off of. My Spelljammer campaign, which I called Quest for the Dawnstar, takes place in the Seven Skies, which is the Andromeda Galaxy, and is across 7 different solar systems with 13 different planets, all with their own unique societies and base like home races of aliens for that planet or species for that planet, and how their cultures evolve and how their societies exist. What are their ruling classes? What are their economic classes and whatnot? What's significant about this world compared to any other worlds? And I've built all of this. I've written that much out. I don't write campaigns out. I don't write the session out. I don't know what the big bad is going to be, but I can world build, and I have extensive like information on each of these worlds. You ask me any question about any one of these worlds and I can give you an answer on the spot, whether it's something that I had to come up with right now because of the question you asked me, or it's something I've already had written down. So I can't make a module, but I can make a world.
I would definitely agree that probably it'd be, what do I want to say? I think world building is easier than coming up with a module, only because a lot of us, if we are going to homebrew, we're going to bring in our players' backgrounds and whatnot and mesh our world to that. Because a BBEG is more fun if it's aligned with someone's background and you get that piece in there. Yeah, the trauma.
My man Himbo said that I can't write a campaign, but I can sure as fuck make No Man's Sky in fantasy game form.
I did say that. I've made No Man's Sky for my D&D campaign.
Several galaxies, 13 planets, societal rules.
Dude, he's not wrong.
I'm aware that he's not wrong.
Let's see, who have we not heard from yet? Daisy, how are you with homebrew modules, campaigns?
I honestly, like, if I wanted to create a module, I probably could. My background is kind of varied in different styles of writing. And I very much like creating worlds and creating scenarios in which someone can get themselves into a lot of trouble. Especially like the Christmas one that I did. If we're gonna have a part 2 out of it, that probably means I could probably make a part 3 and a part 4 and a part 5. So why not combine all of that into one giant campaign, and
Sure.
you could, section it out every year. Be like, hey, we're gonna play this part this year. We're gonna play this part the next year, so that you're not stuck playing one giant role. But the one that I really want to do is the Halloween one that I did. It was a battle royale. One player survived at the end, and I would very much enjoy exploring that more, how they got into the situation they were in, see if they can figure out what's going on and how they got there and why it's existing. I think that would be fantastic, honestly.
I love that. I will say, as far as helping any of the DMs out there, because for behind the screen, that was kind of my intention, was to help other DMs and talk about the game that we love so much. Um, if you need an idea for a world, BBG, whatever, you can use the one that I started my current campaign on. Um, I came up with the idea that the current pantheon of my world was not the original. And there are forgotten gods that, as they lost followers and they lost power and they became unknown for everyone in the world, they still exist, but in a chaotic state. And if those forgotten gods can find purchase somewhere, either through followers, believers, or through causing fear, then they can reform, but in a corrupted way. And you can have so much fun with this. I had a god of sleep and dreams turn into a god of nightmares and affect an entire town and gave them nightmares constantly to the point where it was killing people because they would not sleep. Um, I had a forgotten god of the seas that was a giant sea monster. Um, if you and you can just have random shit as a god that existed long ago and has been forgotten. You want a god of ham? You have a god of ham. Have fun with that. Now they're corrupted. What are they doing? So,
Gullen
have fun
Bursty?
with that if you want.
Said Gullen Bursty? The Norse god? Or the Norse,
Right?
the Norse everlasting bacon pig?
Oh my gosh, right?
One of the fun things that the Forgotten Realms has at least stated is that there are an infinite number of D&D deities in Dungeons and Dragons. Each one, though, their power is based on how broad of a spectrum they roll over, and the more niche and specific and like section down on a thing that they roll over is, the less powerful that they are. So you can have a god over that rolls over ham or ham byproducts, and then they'll not be quite as powerful as the god of animals.
The god of spam. All right, sorry. All right. Would anyone like to add to this
Monty of
thought
Python?
before I move on to the next question?
I have made a god of propaganda. It's not an actual god, however, people believe that it is.
That sounds fair.
Interesting. Zach,
No,
what did you
everyone's
say
been
when I
convinced
was
that there
talking?
is
I
a god
kind
of
of cut you off.
propaganda, but it doesn't exist.
That's just called
So
the
I'm-
god of gaslighting.
So, I didn't mention the one. So technically, I'm working on 2 campaigns at the same time because I'm a masochist or whatever. One of them, and they're completely separate. So one of them is D&D, and one of them is using a platform called Carbon 2185. It's a cyberpunk. So think, like Altered Carbon and all that stuff. Blade Runner. The Carbon 2185 I could probably write a module for because I'm kind of going non-traditional cyberpunk with it. I'm not going like, you're this rogue character is against the government or the corporation, whatever. I'm thinking more Ghost in the Shell. You're elite police force, and I'm sending on missions across the world. And I'm actually building the world because the module has like San Francisco, Tokyo, London. They came out with the expansion a couple years ago. I think they're up to like 5 cities, like Berlin. But I'm making more. So I'm making Miami. I'm making Moscow. So that I could probably write a module for, since I'm kind of having to make one for myself.
Cyberpunk Florida man.
That will absolutely be a thing.
Make it disco, so it's not cyberpunk, it's cyberfunk.
All right, look, I have a thing. So, stiff plug ears.
Okay, muting.
I'm gonna make cyberpunk flamingo lawn ornaments that are like guard robots.
Like surveillance birds.
Yes.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
So you might have to. You might
Did you
have
kill
to change
Jay?
that.
Was what you said? What the heck? Can I
So
come back now?
You got to give him the personalities of Victor
Yes.
from Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah. So I'm running enough of that I can, since I'm making a module for it myself. The other thing for the D&D one, I don't know if I can do like some world building stuff. My concern with making a module for it is like Tiff said, you know, with the players and all that, that's gonna be more player driven. So how to write a module on that, I don't know yet. But also, it's very themed. My inspirations behind my D&D campaign are Horizon Zero Dawn and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, with all the robots coming back.
Ancient Society style.
Yeah. So the premise is, and also I have a unique rule for this campaign, which I normally don't do things to stifle creativity, but I think this makes it more creative. If it is your typical human-ish race, not allowed. So the story is, at some point, the dwarves, humans, elves all get tired of each other, and they go to war, and they wipe each other out. They're gone. So all that was left were the anthropomorphic races, because, well, you know, the hoity-toity elves and the racist humans and all that didn't really care, so left them alone. So they survived. Good for them. But at some point in the future, you know, the anthropomorphic races have thrived. And, oh, by the way, these ancient war machines are suddenly coming back to life. You gotta go figure out why, and you gotta go stop that.
Oh, yes, Planet of the Yifs.
Oh, jeez.
God.
If he
Zack,
wasn't
if you
gonna
can't-
say it, I was.
Yeah.
Fair. I was thinking Beast Stars, but that just because I saw the final
That's the
season was
same
up on
premise.
Netflix.
It's Zootopia.
Yeah. All
That's
right.
even worse.
So y'all, it is 10 to 11, but I'm going to push for another question because we have Ubi finally, and I want to make sure that he gets at least a decent experience of getting in some information here for others. So we're gonna push the clock a little, but we're gonna do a speed round here. I saw a wonderful question, and of course it got buried. Okay, somebody from our Discord is giving us a billion questions, and I love you for it. I'm gonna find it.
I think
There
it's
it is.
Burry.
I'm going to change it slightly. What is your favorite or least favorite character that your players have ever created in your game? I will go ahead and start because I had time to think about this. I don't. It might not be my favorite or least favorite, but it is definitely the most unique. In my current campaign, my husband is playing an ogre who cannot speak, can barely understand common, but makes up for it in being able to smash things with whatever is around.
He's
He
cast
has-
door.
He is essentially the Snorlax of the group, and they have adopted him as their mascot, and he is amazing. I love him so much.
Thank you.
Snorlax taking 15 years to stand up.
I know that. What player combination or character or background did you enjoy or not enjoy from one of your characters?
Off the top of my head, I think one of my favorite characters that the whole group that comes to mind was our Bunkers and Badasses game that I ran. Our psycho that we had was named Nutso, and it was appropriately named. This poor character died over and over again to hilarious detriment, and he played it so well, up to and including being the toddler suddenly who could not understand the difference between guns and food. We also had in there our Mechromancer was actually a pair of sentient rats. We had a gunslinger that was a mariachi band, or like a dude who was like a mariachi singer. He was like our gunslinger soldier class. It was slight insanity.
That
So
I'm still stuck on the can't tell the difference between guns and food, and the necromancer was actually two sentient rats.
the sentient rats were piloting the mech.
Was one shorter with a bigger head and the other one's tall, skinny, and stupid?
No, they were. I know where you're going with that, but no, they piloted out of the tits.
Well, okay. How about knock on wood? We let Ubi go because I've made this moment especially for him and this is when his technical issues are going to kick up. I know it. Ubi, have you had any?
You say that just as I had
characters that you
technical
love?
issues.
I know. I saw you popping in and out. I was like, oh God, no.
Yeah, I am sorry that it did get extended a little bit because of me trying to figure shit out.
You are
But I will
fine,
say
Pete.
that two immediately to come to mind because I have a favorite and a least favorite.
Oh, boy.
But the least favorite one I still absolutely love because it's definitely something I would come up with. So my favorite one was from a player in my campaign that I had called Hollows. His name was Taylor, but his character's name was Earth because he was a caveman. He spoke in caveman terms as if caveman learned English for the first time, just speaking kind of in third person. But his whole thing during the Hollows campaign was that he was a university graduate. He broke every stereotype that it was that someone would think for a caveman. You know, he was even more educated than the rest of the party. His knowledge checks and his skill checks were through the roof. And no one else could pass it, and they relied on him for identification, for tracking animals, identifying certain types for that, how to be able to survive in certain climates, the works. So Earth was definitely a favorite of mine. The least favorite one that I had was that I think is still one of the most hilarious characters anyone we've had created. I was playing with a guy back in the day who came up for one of our Halloween themed ones. I can't remember the actual name, just what we called it. He went by Pretty Pumpkin Princess. And it was a rat folk that was hell-bent on plague distribution to the point of where and he rolled for just every single one of his decisions. We didn't make him. He just decided, what am I going to do? So he decided to walk around on a... I don't know how PG I can make this. He walked around on legs as stilettos. They weren't his legs. He took them from someone else. Dressed up in a bright-ass pink tutu and wore a pumpkin on his head like the knife, the
Headless Horseman?
The Headless Horseman, yes, from Sleepy Hollow. I couldn't think of it. And all he did was just crawl around on the walls everywhere and just spread disease. That was his entire thing, was walking around on legs that weren't his, tutu, pumpkin, bubonic plague.
The
That's
caveman
right up
one
there with
reminds
the rats
me-
that are the necromancers. Okay.
Yeah. The caveman character reminds me of, I don't know if maybe your friend watched Freakazoid and was inspired, but there's a character called Cave Guy who is like that, where he's actually brilliant.
He is a little bit older than me, so he might have, but we grew up in
God, it's old.
very poor neighborhoods, so we didn't get a whole lot of TV. So I know the character you're talking about. I've learned about him over the years, but he might not have inspired him. That might have just been a thing from his brain.
As
Sometimes I
Burry
forget
said in the
Ubi is a
comments,
baby.
all I could think of was the Geico caveman.
I can only imagine though the role play experience that player had though, because he could roll like a 25 on an intelligence check and know exactly what the hell was chasing them or they were looking for, but he could only relay in very broken common. That would be extremely interesting to watch as a character. That would be
I
fun.
had to up the DCs because we know how to be able to break a lot of stuff fairly easy, get skill points fairly easy, and he was the hunter class, the hunter hybrid class. His skill checks were pushing 40 plus at like level 11. So
Holy shit. Incredibly intelligent, just cannot speak.
just hardly can't speak. And even as his intelligence increased, he just kept speaking as the caveman.
I love it. How about Daisy? What have your characters brought to your terrifying games that you have traumatized them with?
Okay, so a favorite actually wasn't one that I was running. It was one that I was in.
Okay.
We had a barbarian who believed that smashing his way through life was the way to go. And unfortunately, the dice gods were behind him every single time. The amount of chaos that ensued when he did just about anything smash worthy was kind of hysterical. There were times when we would stop for like 5 seconds to figure out how to handle this magical situation, and his answer to it was just to smash it. Yeah, that was a fun game. But then I think least favorite is I had a character, a player who wanted to play a character that was a tiefling, but they played it in a pacifist manner. So instead of battling the big baddie, they wanted to talk to the big baddie and try and bring the big baddie down back to like a more even ground, which doesn't always work. And when you have a campaign full of characters and players who want to smash the baddie, you wind up with a lot of tension.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, barbarians want to smash their way through life. Bards want to smash their way through life.
Yeah. But this was just a tiefling that wanted, like a pacifist track on like everything, and speaking to characters that don't speak common or speak, Hellish or whatever it is. Yeah, it was that one was a hard one to navigate. I'll be honest.
No, I understand, and that definitely sounds like something that is a great reminder that that kind of stuff needs to be brought up in session zeros. And I'm not saying that you didn't. I'm just saying like you got to all be on the same page as far as what you want as a game. If you want to talk your way out of it, cool. But the rest of the table's got to be fine with that too, because otherwise someone's going to get bored.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. And we've all had players that would sit at our tables and just not work. And, we've had to move on from that. And we've all had players that we absolutely want to invite back every single time. Zack, I know I've been in most of your games, so I'm hesitant to ask this question. What were some characters
You're always
you
my
really
least
liked
favorite.
that we
No,
brought?
I'm kidding.
Of course,
So my least favorite, not because of what the character was, but because of what the character was. So in two different aspects. So one of our friends brought to one of my one shots this like Dr. Frankenfurter, possibly trans character, which I don't have an issue with that. That's not the part I disliked. The part I disliked was this one shot was like this Egyptian pyramid mummy themed whatever the hell, and the first thing they go to fight are stone golems, which are completely immune to anything charisma, and all this character had was charisma. And I just felt bad because they couldn't do anything. And I'm just like,
I remember that. Yeah,
And
that wasn't. I don't like this character. It's fuck. This is a good character concept, but not for this one shot that I prepared. I should have told you. I'm sorry.
well, also I didn't have a heads up of what the character was to be like, hey, so that might not work mechanically. Heads up, it
happens.
Least favorite mechanically, just because I felt like it ended up giving the player a bad experience, and whoops. It is what it is.
But you enjoyed any of our characters that we brought?
Ooh,
We need to let you think.
no, I just don't want to seem biased.
He's hated every single one of them and is trying to pick his most least favorite.
Hates all of your players equally.
My wife has a kobold named Nugget, and my wife turns into like this little loot goblin thing when she plays Nugget. It's nothing I see her ever do is unique to this character, so probably my favorite because it's different. You know, I see she DMs, so I see her play a range of characters, but when she plays, she's for the most part a druid. So seeing her being this crazy goblin of a kobold just running around being a freaking kleptomaniac and like trying to encourage other players by petting their characters like they're there. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? But I'm okay with this.
True, that is
the
one of the
most
times
random
where I
thing-
am more like chaotic and just like, okay, they're taking forever to make a decision. I'm just gonna go do this thing and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the most chaotic she ever gets, it's the most random she ever gets, and it's the only time I've ever seen that side of her.
Oh, okay. Who hasn't shared yet? Has anyone not shared? Himbo, go for it.
Yeah. So I don't have a least favorite character per se because I find all characters are entertaining or redeeming in their own qualities. And if someone's character isn't great, it's usually because it's boring to me, and therefore I don't have any attachment to it. I have players I don't like, and therefore they're not part of my campaigns anymore. And it just happens to bleed into their character.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say my favorite character that I've ever had in one of my campaigns is the previous character of the first one of my players to have died in my campaign. Because the concept was so cool. He basically wanted to play Warframe in Dungeons and Dragons. He wanted to take a Warforged and put like just put a person inside a Warforged basically, and be able to change Warforged parts later on to change classes, and like level up by getting new parts.
That's an interesting
And
concept.
I thought that concept was amazing. That was really cool. They'd find parts throughout the game, and since I know that his actual character isn't the Warforged, but rather the Tiefling inside the Warforged, then he can just hop out of the suit and go into a different one later to completely change character, and that way he never has to get bored with the character he's playing.
Huh.
The problem is the player didn't realize that this is a slow burn character. You have to earn those parts over time. You have to slowly find them, go out and be that as your objective. He thought 5 sessions in he'd be able to change his character. And that's just not what we had agreed on, and he didn't realize how long it was going to actually take to reach that point. So he just asked if he could change his character altogether. And I was cool with that. That's fine. Like, I understand if you don't want to play the character that you build because you're not having fun, that's fine. We'll find a way of doing it. The original idea was to have his character basically be traded in, kind of C-3PO being sold for parts style. And then I could have the actual tiefling from him show up later on if he decided to play the character again. But due to actions of other people in the party, I couldn't let that happen thematically with what was going on in the campaign in that session, and the player was totally okay with it. He thought his character was going to die from the get-go. He was jumping on a live grenade before the pin was pulled. But it seemed like everybody else at the table wasn't super happy with how he lost his character. They didn't think it was justified, and I explained it doesn't have to be justified. He wanted to change his character. Basically, they were in front of a Court of Owls style cult and was being told, in order to let you out, you've taken from us, we will take from you, give us one of yours. And the captain of the ship was about to more or less like go through each person as I can't do you, you're too valuable, and then land on the Warforged who hadn't been there long enough and be like, sorry buddy, you drew the short straw sort of thing. But before I could even have that be the case, he just full on Hunger Gamed I volunteer as tribute. And because one of the players wasn't happy with the interactions, they decided to just leave the courtroom and break down a wall. So to like more or less created a hostile environment, and the only thing I could do at that point was show the whole purpose of this cult is extremely powerful, and the characters are already being gotten rid of anyways. So I just had a ray of radiant energy slice the character in half.
Damn. And that brings up an interesting point of like, when there's something drastic like that that's going to happen, there might be a time where you have to say, hey, spoilers, but this is something that is being talked about, and this is something that's going to happen, and if you have any issues with that, please tell us now. Like, if you plan on killing a character outright, that might be a conversation to be had before the session starts, because it's hard to know what will trigger people when it comes to character death. Absolutely, if you have no plan and it just happens, it happens. But I can imagine, just being told, yeah, and you watch them die. Not saying that's what you did, but if a DM was like, yeah, and then you watch them die and that's it, I'd be like, I feel like that hurt too much because I couldn't do anything about it. But then again, there's probably situations where you can't. So I don't know.
The feedback I got from the group after that session was that they didn't feel it was justified for that player to have volunteered themselves, and it felt shallow without any actual reason behind it. And I get that. Like, I didn't get to build up to that moment for him because I didn't want to spoil what was going to happen in that session. He just wanted to go forward and be that jumping off a cliff sort of moment.
I understand.
And it's fine. That was his choice. And I had to explain to the rest of the party, the actions he took are his own. You all have full autonomy. You can do whatever you want. Just because you don't feel as though your character would have done it in that moment or feel just like it was justified doesn't mean that he didn't.
Okay.
They had no problem with the actual death. They just thought that there was no emotional investment behind his sacrifice.
That I understand. Okay. I could see why that would be upsetting for a lot of people. So, on that note, we are now past our time at 11, so we are going to wrap up here. Does anyone have any other lingering thoughts on that question? Favorite characters, least favorite characters? It seems like we don't really have characters that we don't like. We just have attachments to this did not work well, and the regret and feelings that come from that.
I have a style of character I don't like. I've never encountered it organically in a game, but that's normally because I flat out rule 0 tell people don't do this. I don't like pizza cutters. All edge, no point.
Yep.
If you're a loner, why are you playing the game?
Exactly.
It's a team building group.
God, the one time that I ran a D&D club for middle school, so many freaking edgelords kids, and I'm like, is your character here?
Now, I like taking that trope and flipping it on its head. You see someone hunched over in a corner in a hooded outfit in the dark corner of the room, drinking their ale or whatever, and it's just because they have social anxiety and it's their safety blanket as their hood sort of thing. They're just really, they don't want to talk to people. I'll full like Tamaki from My Hero Academia, have them standing facing the wall sort of thing.
I am stealing that. That's hilarious. I love that. All right, so once again, let's go around the table, so to speak, and say who we are, where people can find us. For example, starting off with Dark Crescent Studios, who has amazing dice. So does Homebrew Hivmo, but I wouldn't know because the ones that I bought, I lost. Husband. Dark
I'm
Crescent.
not apologizing.
Where can people find you?
So you can find me under Dark Crescent Studio on Facebook, Instagram, here on Twitch. I'm technically on Twitter, but I realistically don't use it at all. Um, my shop is on Store Envy, and I am currently working on a shop update that includes so many things. I've got like 13 more sets of mini dice to add, about 15 more sets of full dice. I just updated all of the Pride Dragons that I make, including the order your own if you don't see your particular flag. So, if you want stuff before Christmas, come get it.
And on my TikTok, when I was posting about Norse Forge, I did post a video that featured some of her dragons. They are adorable. Daisy, oh, you got some? While she shows that in the background, Daisy, tell us about you. Oh, it's so cute.
I'm Daisy Chainsaw 999 across pretty much every social media platform. I'm most active on Instagram, but it is, like I said earlier, mostly scary movie related. So if you're not a fan of that, probably best to stay away from that page. Otherwise, I'm not too active, though I do have accounts on pretty much everything. So if you want, you can reach me on just about everything.
Wonderful. And we'll go with Homebrew Himbo, and I'll say his name correctly this time, and that is how I'm going to have to say his name for the rest of my life. Homebrew Himbo.
I am Homebrew Himbo. You can find me on most social media platforms, here on Twitch, on TikTok, on YouTube, as well as you can find my dice shop itself on refinedchaos.shop, which also has its own TikTok and an Instagram.
Very good. And the one, the only, the one half of the episode that he was here, Ooby Dooby.
So like I said, my name is Ooby Doo. Across all platforms right now, I have only TikTok and Blue Sky, but I am currently working on a Discord for my fans as well, known as the Oobyverse, for all of my lore and all the characters and wonderful fans that have told me about their characters on TikTok. I will also have an Instagram in the future. You can find me across all platforms like that, watching me post videos abusing the mechanics of Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons, and continuing to prove my point of how I am the most powerful character ever created in Dungeons and Dragons.
I again love watching the way you bend rules, and it's kind of a forewarning of what my players can try to use against me.
One of the things I will say that I'm doing for the last part is constantly trying to get Dungeons and Dragons into the Versus universe, showing just how powerful that Dungeons and Dragons can be translated into any kind of universe as well, like how I easily bested Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. You can check that video out on TikTok as well.
I still think you need to do a collab with Popo where he just like smacks you over the hand with a newspaper.
That's fair. There's two versions of Ubi now, so it depends on which one he meets.
All right. And I haven't forgotten, but my husband, Zack, also known as Kavash Feresh, who does not have a social media platform, but anything you want to say about yourself, sweetie?
You can find me right in the kitchen and existing.
Pretty much.
A man of simplicity. I appreciate it.
He is also part of the Mountain of Mystery campaign that I am a part of as well, and many one-shots that are now taking place here on this Twitch platform, and our YouTube and whatnot. Yes, he does exist, so at least he's not just a faceless void. He does exist. Which I am hoping that the most recent one-shot is actually going to turn into a short campaign. There's talks of that happening, so I will leave us with final thoughts of saying again, DMs, as long as your players come back to your table, you are doing an amazing job. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to us rant about the game that we love. And we'll see you next time. And until then, may all of your rolls be crits. Good night, everybody.
Y'all have a wonderful day.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Bye.